So, if you're interested in philosophy, here's a few things. There is an indisputable truth that one who is still aware of existing in this moment, so to speak, can be known to be an eternal being. And I can walk you through how that works. A lot of it comes back to the concept of a philosophical zombie, meaning the whole supposedly existential argument that's actually solipsistic, solipsism, about brain in a jar, everything could be an hallucination. You know you exist from the cogito, which is the argument, I think, therefore I am, cogito ergo sum, but you can't know that other people exist. For all you know, this is a simulation, they're all AI sprites, they don't have a soul, philosophical zombies. You know what it's like to be without a head. Everyone else has a head, because you can't see your own head. You're in you, you know you exist. This is the nature of solipsism. It has sub-branches. Epistemological solipsism is the branch that says, I know I exist. I don't know you exist. I'm not implying that you don't, but I'm interested in exploring pure truth and what I can know. That's the epistemology, however you want to say it. I don't know. The cogito. If you look at this, taking a big step back from everything you think you know, your sense of time is purely subjective. It's your own, not meaning it's subject to interpretation, but only you can know your sense of time, and it's potentially eternal. This still moment, this reference moment that I speak of, that is the measuring stick, the yardstick of what an immortal being would witness versus one that wouldn't, is a moving bar, so to speak. It's just a go-to. It's on the table. You can pick it up and look at it any time. It's just something you can, it's a check. It's a food thermometer. You check to see if the temperature is 165 and the meat's done or not. Anyone who's sticking the thermometer in the meat is an eternal being. Because at this moment right now, I'll say, for the sake of argument, anybody around, they can go pick up that, stick it in, check. Do you exist? Do you exist right now? Doesn't matter what now we're using, just any old now. This is a test. 1 out of infinite chance that someone is going to be able to do that only lives one lifetime and then doesn't exist anymore. And note that, temporal world time doesn't exist. The sense of movement of a linear time, of an isolated time in and of itself, this clock spinning, this universal frame development of three-dimensional worlds iterating. This is all in our heads. This is not real physics. That's the space-time continuum. That's a relation of points in space-time using space-time intervals as a distance between them, and that's subject to the frame of reference of the observer. That's Einstein. That's the closest thing we know that resembles reality. Time, we're pretty sure, is not real. It's a construct, a mental construct that we inflict on our worldview to try and make sense out of it. So there's no time but in your mind, for all intents and purposes, and as far as we can tell. One out of infinite chance, someone with just one life at this moment in whatever would be able to do this. All finite beings would have ceased to exist trillions of eons ago, or would be yet to exist for trillions of eons yet to come. Only someone with an infinite function of time available to them would have any probability being able to pick up that tester and check right now, am I still here? This sounds ridiculous, but if you just take a long, quiet moment and let go of everything, just feel yourself being witness to the infinite span of time, you'll see this. There's nothing but the cold, empty abyss in every direction, and yet somehow you persist. And if you're to blink for just a moment, this is a whole new time to test. This is a different moment than that last moment we were talking about, where we'd done that test before. And time has passed. But it's no different. And the thing is, in the infinite, a second, a single second, a nanosecond, and the lifetime of our universe up to this point are no different. There is no big and small. There's no scale. The only thing that scales like time is us. Something's big if it's bigger than you. Something's small if it's smaller than you. There's no relative without a 0 point. The possibility of checking right now, do you exist? And it happened to be during your short span of life where you exist, is real, but the probability is actually not one in infinite, it's 0. Because it's the equivalent value and it's working at a different dimension. The possibility is real. The probability is 0. Because the probability is measure of the weight. Yes, I mean, it technically could happen. That's a possibility. Something divided by zero does not equal, or divided by infinity does not equal zero. It's just the closest thing to it. But in terms of weight, in terms of volume, of mass, of the extra dimension, what actually fills the void, that probability is zero. Every single chance will come up that way. It's due to this too. When you're counting, you don't count to infinity. You count towards infinity. You keep counting closer and closer and never actually getting any closer. An unending infinite is infinitely less than a set infinite. And you can never progress meaningfully towards the infinite that way. And that's why also it's not at that extra infinite multiplied dimension again higher. The possibility is real, but the probability is zero. And this also extends to the past, but in the opposite way. The soul must have an origin. The soul, the spirit, consciousness, observational nature, your core of the ability to perceive and experience time. The existence of you is what I just call the soul, because it's an easier word. That persistent existence in you must be a finite and infinite sum of time. It's unending, but it has to have an origin. You necessarily have a beginning and no end. And like I said, I know I exist, I don't know you exist, solipsism. Okay, so let's also give credit that this world may or may not contain eternal beings, but since I know I am, and I'm here, I know this place is capable of that. And we can know that. This is similar to the anthropic principle, which basically states that of all the infinite possibilities of universes and worlds within them, regardless of how insignificant, how difficult, and improbable questioning life, sapient life capable of questioning deep questions would be, no matter how improbable that outcome is and how difficult it is to get there, of all the possibilities, those beings will ask those questions in a universe, in a world, in a place and time where those almost impossible odds line and they happen. You find yourself where you are necessarily and ask those questions. So this is a lot of the but the odds of life are, it was an odd coincidence to line up those protein molecules, but of all the places it didn't happen, this is the one that isn't one of those, because we're here. And we're here because this is the one. This universe is not just capable of life and sentience and sapience, but also those that house beings that are permanent fixtures of reality. They contain a persistent soul. And this also necessarily, logically, strongly implies reincarnation being the only rational explanation among our common models for the afterlife. And that's not to say that other things don't exist, that there's any possibility of things, but reincarnation is pretty sound. It's cogent. It's a cogent inference. It's bet all the money on that. There's no 100% on it, but it's the only rational outcome, period. And that also hints at a deep question that will most certainly remain unanswered. Where do you go from here? And why? Why become a woman in your next life? Why be reborn in the 17th century? Why end up on this planet? Why be this form of self-sustaining plasma waves in a distant sun and a variant heat variance universe next, or whatever? What is the nature of the path? How does the soul navigate those forks in the road? Are there forks? There's a deeper order. There's more physics. There's other dimensions where there are things flowing downhill in an inevitable way that we don't see, that we are not privy to. There's whole worlds of rules to this that we will never understand. And the nature is arbitrary. It could be anything. There's no odds. It's anyone's guess. And there could be rhyme and reason to it. This is to do with consciousness. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cold and uncaring universe. Just saying, just throwing that out there. It could be math, it could be chaos, it could be dominoes, but there could be guiding principles, there could be feedback. We don't know. We don't know. We can't know. But some interesting thoughts. You're eternal, you'll reincarnate. You're internal, you'll reincarnate. And you haven't always been here, but you've been here for a very long time and likely somewhere else.